From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game.
And here we go. We are back. We are live from the 2022 Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention, the TASCO Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention in beautiful Moody Gardens here in Galveston, Texas. And we are joined by the main man, the man in charge of the head men's soccer program for the Leander Rouse Raiders. Wasn't going to say Rouse, right? To a tribute to my man Rafa, but the Leander Rouse Raiders, Coach Darrell Knight. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. Hector, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Glad had a great conversation last night with you. Learned some stuff, and it was good. It was good. It allowed us the opportunity to get you here today. So thankful to have you here today. Tell us how it's going.
I appreciate you having me on. It was great, meeting you in person last night. Just gotten a visit about the convention and your podcast, and how you're just helping grow recognition for Texas high school soccer and these players, boys and girls. And just getting them some recognition and pub out there that they most definitely deserve.
Right.
Convention's going great. It's always good to dive into some learning, to see other coaches, how they approach things, how they attack weaknesses and do different things. And obviously the networking is great. Seeing some old faces from across the state that you may not see throughout most of the year, except maybe at the state tournament or something like that. And just kind of really connecting to the coaches from our area, which is the greater Austin area, getting to see them and just kind of catch up on the year and before we get rolling here in a little less than a week.
Right. So talk to us about the vibe this last day and a half, almost 2 days here in terms of the convention. Anything stand out to you, or what stands out to you?
I think soccer is growing in general. And so I think that kind of carries over to us as coaches with the World Cup coming, just in a day. Everybody's just kind of exciting and building. I see excitement from our coaches across, the state. San Antonio, obviously their team just recently doing so much success with Austin, with Austin FC having so much success and seeing coaches at games. And it's just an exciting time, I feel like, for soccer. It seems to be growing, and the convention seems to reflect that with just coaches ready to get going. It's kind of that nervous energy. Nobody really wants to say, how good or where they are, but it's a great fun time to kind of build towards the kickoff of our season.
Yeah, that's not going to mention hate to mention that's a San Antonio FC team that had a historic USL championship season and did happen to sneak one past Austin FC during the Open Cup. I was actually at that game. It was a phenomenal game.
Exciting.
That game was a great environment for sure. So talk to us. What's been for you so far, whether it be the field sessions, classroom sessions, interacting with the other coaches? What's been maybe one or two things that have been of the biggest highlight for you here at TASCO this year?
One of the highlighted sessions I went to was just scouting your opponent from the girls coach from Highland Park. I like to see how other coaches approach each match, or maybe a playoff match, and how things that they're looking for. Right. And so I was able to take some insights about, as they're looking towards their next opponent, how can they gain that advantage or prepare their players better, which I think is a great thing to learn as a coach, little things that she's looking for. And so I really took that away, this morning for the sit down for that. And I'm a visual learner, and I think a lot of coaches are. We can look at a session plan, you can look at something online, but when you get to see someone live demonstrate a session, with some youth players, you can really take that back with some good notes and take some practical things back to your program and find some really good sessions to get your guys or girls into. And so that's what I've always liked about TASCO, is that it seems to be very practical. It's less theory based about, culture is great, but can we get on the field and really find ways to help our guys and girls execute? And so I feel like, if coaches spend the time during those sessions, there's most definitely something every single one to take back and to apply very quickly.
Yeah. What's made TASCO 2022? What's made this convention different? Anything stand out to you?
I think that the organizers of this are just really, they're structured, they plan, they have everybody in the right place. you guys are here, which is exciting, something new. I think they bring in great vendors. And I just think they do a good job of kind of promoting it to our state, and where we've got guys from the Panhandle all the way to the low down in the Valley that want to come here and want to grow and network and really continue to get ready for their year. So I just feel like the hype was there. The organization was there. We've kind of turned the page on COVID. And I feel like it's just really coaches able to connect and grow in a good weekend.
Yeah. Anything new on the vendor front stand out to you? Did you see something so far this year that was like, that's pretty cool? I hadn't seen that before.
Well, we purchased, when I say we, our booster club purchased 2 VO2 cameras just this past fall. And so I've been really trying to kind of experiment with them. And I was able to ask, their on-site vendors some tips and tricks about uploading. And so some very specific things with that. And so that was very helpful for me, was just being able to talk to somebody live and do that. And just kind of, touch base with each one to see if there's ways that I can take something physical or practical back to our program this year. So I just think it was very, the vendors that are here are very soccer minded. They want to invest in soccer in our state, and they want to get involved. And it's exciting to see just soccer specific vending, because we're usually chasing behind that other football in regards to getting quality stuff for our guys.
Right. Yeah. So there always seems to be, in terms of what's been evident this year, has been just the sheer volume of coaches, right? New coaches walk up like on the spot registration. But there always seems to be more coaches that are interested or intrigued, but just don't quite ever push the button or commit to wanting to make the trip. Right. So from your perspective, have you're talking to that coach that's at home, that coaching staff, maybe that new coach, right? Why do they need to be here? Why do they need to be kind of making plans for, TASCO 2023 in terms of being here?
I think, the ability to ask someone beside you questions is invaluable. That's that you can watch YouTube videos, you can watch it all. But as you sit with someone in a session, say, hey, what do you think here? What can you take away? I think some of those side conversations, like I said, the networking that can happen, finding a mentor if you're a young person. Most coaches want to help others. Maybe we're not going to help the coach in our district, to help with something there. But generally speaking, it's a service-minded group. And so everybody wants to kind of help each other grow and wants to grow our game. So I would say, get here, get your feet on the ground, and have the courage to talk up, to ask questions, because someone else may have that. Just like we encourage our students to ask questions, I think new coaches and people that would be on the fence about whether or not they should come, and then just dive into a new social group. I met you last night just at the social here, and not knowing, because I followed you last year, and it was just a way to get connected. So if you feel distant out at maybe your different part of the state, there's ways to get connected here at TASCO Convention.
Right. Yeah, it's great. And something as simple and subtle as a social event, and just kind of mingling, talking with different coaches, and it leads to great opportunities and great information, right?
Absolutely.
Information sharing, networking, as they call it, right? So, all right, so let's transition here. Let's talk about, your days away from the start of your season, right? You're officially in season as of November 28th. Talk to us about what can we expect from the 2023 Leander Rouse Raiders?
The expectations are very high. Leander and Forster just came out with their preseason rankings, and rankings is just a number. But this year they sent out a big survey, so that was full of media, players, coaches, everybody involved. And they have us preseason number 1 in our region. I think it's because we took Dripping Springs, who was, made it to the state final to penalties, and had one taken off the board for I think incorrect call, but trying to turn past that as it goes. But nonetheless, I think, we're starting to just get some recognition and a little bit of respect, and what comes with that is expectation. And the guys are really buying into that mindset that we're no longer like, who's Rouse? We're starting to have a little bit more validity in our area as being a team that can contend with just about anybody.
Yeah. So how do you go about? So now you're kind of, if you will, switching over to becoming the hunted, right? Rather than the hunt. So how do you keep them hungry? How do you keep them humble? And then how do you keep them in check from the standpoint of, hey, this is nothing more than a preseason ranking. It doesn't mean anything.
It's definitely different. I mean, I opened Rouse in 2008.
Yeah.
And so we've come a long way from being that underdog. We've always kind of fought from that position. And so having this kind of preseason recognition is a different position.
Right.
But this group of guys, especially the senior class, really excel in having that standard and expectation. And so you have to constantly, remind them that, the whistle hasn't blown yet. If someone is trying to outwork you every day. And so the goal is to try to work to that standard on a day-to-day basis so that the games and the matches are just a reflection of how they prepared and the mentality that they have. So it's funny you say hunted. The Georgia head coach in football, they asked him early on in the year, like, how does it feel to be coming as the national champion? How do you approach this season? And I really liked what he said. He said, make no mistake, like, we are not the hunted. We will continue to be the hunters. And so I feel like that's a mindset that regardless of whether what you did last year doesn't matter, you have to be the aggressor, whether that be in, obviously preparing for the matches, but as you go, you can't just sit and wait and say, hey, everybody's going to try to bring our best at us. We have to continue to show up every single day and act like, we're the underdog, regardless of opponent from day one.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. So talk to us a little bit about that district this year. It's going to look different. What are you, it's a talented district, but what, for the others that may not be familiar with that district this year, what do they need to keep in mind just in terms of besides you all, just the other competitors in that district?
I mean, I think, there's a lot of guys that think their district is top in the state. But in going into last year, I think the consistent high competition and high level of play is what prepares you for the postseason. Right. Georgetown was able to make it to the regional tournament, right. and Coach Rich, and I share the same mentality that we accredit anything past district to the grind and the battles that our guys go through on a twice-a-week basis. So they're no longer in our district. The Georgetown ISD with them in Eastview, which we always had some great matches with them through the years. They've moved to the other region, so we're hoping to maybe see them way further down the line.
Right.
And then Marble Falls dropping to 4A, which they've shared our district with us for a long time since we've opened. We're gaining Hayes and Lehman, so we have to go to the south side of Austin, up from Leander, several of us. So we'll have to leave very early on a bus to get through the traffic of Austin. But we're excited to pair up with them. We've played them in years past, but not in our district. So we're excited to have them. And then obviously along with our other Leander ISD schools with Cedar Park and Leander High School and Glenn, where it's very, very competitive. These kids grow up just like in a lot of places playing club against each other.
Right. They know each other.
They play with each other on Saturdays and Sundays and pickup games. They know each other. And so the smack talk happens early on in the greater Leander area for sure.
Right. Awesome. That's well said. So, great stuff. Good insight as well. Now, any players, any one or two, I know as a coach, you never want to there's plenty of credit to go around in terms of your athletes, but is there maybe a player or two that you'd like to highlight, give some recognition to that maybe more people around the state should be aware of?
Yeah, we're blessed to have some really talented young men, and I could name off 11 of them. We have one young man that's going to be coming off an injury as we progress through the season, Ryan Clanton Pimentel. Definitely one to keep an eye on. He was the reigning district MVP of our district, selected, I believe, second team all region, and definitely going to be looking to, he's high level player for Lone Star ECNL, and will definitely be playing at the next level. It's just where that fit's going to be. Another one is going to be Brendan Fournier. He was Defensive Player of the Year of our district, also selected to our region. He's extremely fast, extremely dynamic, and he's going to be moving to the midfield this year from the back. So we're looking for him to really step up and help us, convert a lot of those goals going forward. So he's definitely one to be on the lookout for. We have a all-state goalkeeper coming back. And so in Jake Loofs, he is an acrobatic, extremely athletic, can make saves from all over, those big highlighted, big jumping saves he can make. A great leader. And then lastly, not lastly, but another all region player coming back is Carlos Manzano. He set our goal scoring record, tied it, would have broken it had he not gotten injured, I believe, versus Dripping Springs. But just a lot of quality guys coming back, big leadership group, a lot of experience, along with several other, juniors and seniors that really like to contribute and provide a lot of quality and depth in our program.
Nice. Well said. Good breakdown. He is Darrell Knight, the head varsity men's soccer coach of the Leander Raiders. Rouse. See, now he got me saying Rouse now. So Rouse, Leander Rouse Raiders. So you got that in my head, man. So, all right. So anyway, before we go, as is customary, Coach, we like to give our guests kind of a final thoughts, shout out, anything they'd like to share. Floor is yours.
Shout out to all of Raider Nation across, all of Leander. Shout out to Coach Elrod, who's going to be taking over our girls program this year for the first time, and both boys and girls programs. And just shout out to the guys back working hard to get ready for this season. Shout out all of Leander and all of the Rouse staff and community. We appreciate everything, and go Raiders. Awesome.
Well said. And again, that is Rouse, not Rouse. So ongoing joke that we got here. So, Coach, this has been great. I appreciate your time, and we wish you the absolute best of luck in your 2023 season.
Appreciate it. Best of luck to all of you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by College Promoters USA. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50podcast, as well as on YouTube